Hello and welcome. You're watching the India Today ORG opinion poll for Gujarat. From the 12th to the 18th of October, ORG pollsters spanned through the state of Gujarat to get us this definitive opinion poll on the mood in Gujarat right now. To discuss this poll, I'm joined by Mr. M.J. Akbar, Editorial Director of India Today magazine, GVL Narasimha Rao from the BJP. Headlines today's election panel, Mr. Ashok Malik is also joining us. Professor Sanjay Kumar is with us on this broadcast. Achut Yagnik is joining us from Ahmedabad. Let's take a look at the methodology. We covered 36 constituencies. The sample of voters was 5,040. Let's take a look first at the dates, which is between the 12th to the 18th of October. The margin of error is about 3%. Let's take a look at the first section of graphics, which has to deal with Operation Sadbhavna that Narendra Modi launched with a lot of fanfare in Gujarat and the sort of response that it has got. Will Sadbhavna help Modi get minority votes? 41% say yes. This is the entire sample. 40% say no. Can't say is about 19%. Let's take the next question. These are questions now that are only being asked to people from the minority community. Has Narendra Modi been fair to the Muslim community in the last 5 years? 26% say yes. No is about 54%. Can't say is about 20%. Clearly, suspicion still runs high amongst the Muslims. Let's take our next graphic on whether Modi's done enough to help the Muslim community of Gujarat. 60% say no. Only 16% are saying yes. Can't say is about 25%. Who would people vote for if elections were held today? 61% of the Muslim voters are saying they will not vote for Narendra Modi if elections are held today. Only 17% saying they would. It's very interesting how the Muslim community still remains skeptical. And even if you look at the question of the apology, 55% saying they will not vote for Narendra Modi even if he were to apologize for the Gujarat riots. I want to put the first question to Ashok Malik on the level of suspicion and the issue of Operation Sadbhavna. Clearly not cutting much ice for Narendra Modi. He tried to reach out to the minority community. They still remain very, very suspicious of the Chief Minister.
Well, there's certainly a problem Mr. Modi does have with the Muslim voter in Gujarat and perhaps elsewhere in India as well. But what is interesting from the various sets of numbers we've already sort of announced in this program vis-a-vis the Muslim voter is that the hostility to Modi is gradually, slowly coming down. Because if you look at the number of Muslims who are willing to vote for Mr. Modi, it's 17% irrespective of whether he issues an apology or a gesture of reconciliation or not. But the number of people who sort of would certainly think of voting for him or move to the can't say range goes up by about 6% in case he issues an apology or makes a gesture of reconciliation. So which means there is some rethinking even within the Muslim community to a very small degree about how fair this man has been as a chief minister. Because 1 in 4 Muslim voters in Gujarat says that for the past 5 years he's done a good job as chief minister. He's been fair to us. That is not translating into votes yet, but it is to some degree blunting the hostility to him.
You're suggesting that the numbers indicate that the level of hostility is coming down. Mr. Akbar, do you share that perception?
Yes, indeed, it's coming down. As I said, this would have been more apparent if we had looked at Muslim intentions and so on, particularly the can't say. The can't say is the grey area where people haven't really made up their minds. It's 28%, which is quite significant. But compare these figures to last time around, and last time around I think the hostility to Modi was much sharper. However, the fact is that one of the sort of disincentives to apologize is probably the fact that even if he does, the majority of Muslim voters will not vote for him. So what would he apologize for in political terms? On moral terms, yes, of course, we can see the rationale. But I think in the larger, my problem has always been, or my understanding has always been, that voting intentions, figures and the actual vote are less important for anyone in Modi's position than the ability to govern. And can you govern a state or a country with a large segment of your population so completely hostile?
That's a very important
So
point.
therefore, it is important in the larger sort of rationale of governance that Narendra Modi begins to reach out and say, yes, he is the chief minister of all Gujaratis, not of only a majority of Gujaratis.
Achyut Yagnik, Mr. Akbar and Ashok Malik suggesting that while the Muslims might not vote for Narendra Modi just yet, Sadbhavna has served the purpose of lowering the level of hostility. Would you agree?
No, it's difficult to say. Those people who say can't say, you are interpreting that they are still undecided. But you can also interpret that answer as a sense of resignation also. So because of divided society in Gujarat and growing ghettos, there is a increasing sense of resignation. Beyond a point, it is possible that those people even may not go for voting also. So I don't think meeting with the people or meeting with the Muslim community, not only in Ahmedabad but in many parts of Gujarat, I don't get that sense.
Bakul Dholakia, do you think that Mission Sadbhavna has made any difference on the ground? The numbers still seem to be stacked against Narendra Modi. The Muslim community very, very suspicious even now.
I think as it was pointed out, the correct frame of reference is what would this kind of opinion of the minority community would have meant in 2002, 2007 versus 2012. And what I could gather from the numbers that you have given and whatever I remember of the similar things in the past is that the anti-Modi bias amongst the minority community seems to be on a decline. And that is the reason why the grey area percentage is rising.
Okay, we've discussed.
Now you require more conviction. You require more conviction on their part. Now, the other thing that we need to understand is that X number of percent, 60% of them saying we will not vote for Modi. Are they therefore saying that they will vote at all? I mean, it is not clear whether not voting for Modi means electoral gains for someone else. So therefore, I think it has always been very difficult to assess the mind of the minority community.
Okay, you know,
it is
GVL,
the case every time in every election.
GVL, the question of how minorities perceive Modi is important, especially in the national context. Even in his own state, he hasn't been able to convince the minority community, let alone a state like Uttar Pradesh or Bihar, where opinion about Modi is far more negative than it would be in, you know, just by common understanding.
No, I don't think that's right. But you see, there is a paradigm shift in the way he is approaching politics compared to the way electorate is used to hearing from political parties. He says, for me, I think this question is redundant for him. Has he done something for the Muslims in Gujarat? He said this in his Sadbhavna mission speech. He very categorically says, for me, I am governing 6 crore Gujaratis and Muslims are a significant or an important part of it. But I have nothing special to give to the Muslims of Gujarat. So rest of the country, all the other political parties have been working on this kind of feeding this kind of beliefs to the community and telling them we are doing something special for you, when indeed they have done nothing for them. The status of Muslims according to the Sachar committee is much better in Gujarat compared to every other state governed by the Congress and the left parties. And more importantly, I would like to ask you a counter question. Have you asked the Congress party or the BJP why they are not getting a significant chunk of Dalit votes in Uttar Pradesh? Why do you have this special focus on one particular community in a state? And I have not been able to find an answer to this question. I would like to have somebody speak on this. Why do you not ask?
You know, we've discussed the minority factor. I now want to shift our attention to the Keshubhai Patel factor and see whether his presence makes a difference at all in the polls. Let's take the first question that we put about Keshubhai Patel. This is the question is being asked only now to the Lewa and the Kadwa Patels. This is the community from which Mr. Keshubhai Patel comes. The question was, would you vote for Modi if elections were to be held today? 72% of those who are actually from Keshubhai Patel's community say they would vote for Modi despite Keshubhai Patel splitting. 25% say no. Let's take the next question. This has got to do with whether they believe that Modi is being fair, because Keshubhai Patel trying to create this feeling that Narendra Modi hasn't been fair. Even there, 62% feel he's been fair. And on the issue of whether they would vote for Keshubhai Patel, 77% say no, they will not vote for Keshubhai Patel. Let me bring in Professor Sanjay Kumar. Professor Kumar, it's very clear that Keshubhai Patel is a bit of a non-starter in these elections. You know, he's launched his own party, but it seems to be completely failing. Why is he not being able to rally the Patel vote?
This is not only unique about Gujarat. A new party has come up, and as the survey indicates that they are likely to get about 2% vote. If we travel from one state to another, we would see that a new party which comes up in an election, while we think that they are going to do some magic in the election, but they have never done that big a magic, and that is likely to happen in Gujarat also. Keshubhai Patel is no match if we see Keshubhai Patel versus Narendra Modi in terms of personality. A ruling party always has the advantage. Now we have, as mentioned earlier, the anti-incumbency is being seen as pro-incumbency now, not only in Gujarat, but look at travel to different states, whether it is Madhya Pradesh, whether it is Chhattisgarh, Bihar, many states. The incumbent government, which is doing some developmental work, are getting re-elected more and more. All this has places BJP and Narendra Modi as in an advantageous position, and Keshubhai Patel is no match for that. They don't see Keshubhai Patel in any way matching Narendra Modi's charisma, political stature, the BJP strength. So very, very difficult for a person to vote for Keshubhai Patel. And remember, Rahul, no voter in India like to waste his vote. Nobody would like to vote for a ruling party. Nobody wants to waste his vote, especially at a time when Keshubhai Patel is seen as a man with no future. And if he'd done this earlier, maybe he would have had a chance. In this election, it's a non-starter.
Even if he had done this earlier, he wouldn't have had a chance. Because one of the things that development does is that it breaks the traditional patterns of support. People weigh, you know, it was traditional. I think we mentioned it at some point in this discussion, that it was traditional that, you know, development was not a factor previously. Now, there were two reasons for that. One, that there wasn't much development to begin with, and number two, the traditional loyalties to caste and so on were very strong, particularly in those areas where development hadn't taken place. As Gujarat develops, people have to make a choice, which is, do you want to support your kith and kin to the extent that you will remain hungry or you may remain underfed, or do you want to go with growth? Common sense. It doesn't require genius to say that we would like to go with growth. One of the important facts of Indian history is that in the last 20 years, since 1990, since the Babri Masjid riots, there has been no major riot. Even the Gujarat riot was an extension in a way of the Babri Masjid affair. Why is that? Is it that Indians have suddenly become angels? No. It is because people are recognizing that the old systems of conflict generation, which generated conflict, have to be put aside. Otherwise, India and their welfare will be hurt. So, Keshubhai Patel, who would have been a major factor in the 70s, he is a 70s man. He is not a 21st century politician. If he thinks that because his name is Patel, he will get Patel votes. He will get votes for the same reason that non-Patels would have given him votes for or denied him.
That's a big disappointment, Achut Yagnik, for Keshubhai Patel, because he was playing on the emotional card, building this hypothesis that the Patels have suffered under Narendra Modi. The opinion poll indicates that people don't share that perception.
You know, to begin with, let me tell you that Patels, as a community, they are known as Patidar. Patel is a surname. They are only 14%, number one. Number two, they are not only divided as Lewa and Kadwa, that is higher and lower, but also divided according to marriage circle. And Keshubhai's own area of influence is limited to Saurashtra, and some part of Surat city. So his area of influence is limited. So one should not expect more than that from Keshubhai. There's nothing to do, but I should also add that Patel as a Patidar as a community is a very clannish community. And they vote according to, not according to the community, but according to their marriage circle, that certain villages, 6 village, 20 villages, 16 villages, you know. So that kind of, at the grassroots level, that kind of contest take place.
Okay, so we've discussed the minority factor, we've discussed Keshubhai Patel being a non-starter. Let's now come to the issue of development. And I also want to bring in Mahesh Jethmalani from the BJP, who's joining us on this broadcast. Let's take a look at some of the questions that we posed to our sample on Narendra Modi and the sort of work that he'd done on the issue of development. The first question had to do with what people believe would be the most important factor in these assembly elections. 37% say development, 28% say price rise, 18% say corruption. Has industrialization in Gujarat really created jobs? Do people believe the Modi story? 67% of those who were sampled say that yes, industrialization has led to the creation of jobs. 18% say no, 7% say there has been no industrialization. Let's take the next question on what people believe is Narendra Modi's greatest weakness. 30% say arrogance, intolerance is 18%, disregard for institutions is 10%, can't say is about 32%. Let's take a look at his strengths also. People say he's not corrupt, that's 32%, organized leadership is about 26%, charismatic is 25%. I want to go across now first to Mahesh Jethmalani on Narendra Modi's biggest strengths, where 48% say he's arrogant and intolerant. And even in Gujarat, where you'd assume that Narendra Modi would otherwise have very good ratings, these are two factors that don't go down well, Mr. Jethmalani, with voters in Gujarat who would like him to remedy these characteristics. Mr. Jethmalani.
Well, I don't know, because on the other hand, he scores very highly on charisma. So these are opinions, and for ultimately Rahul, these are imponderables. These are amorphous findings. One really doesn't know. People say them off the cuff, but frankly speaking, the fact of the matter is that a agenda based on development and Modi's charisma are the two biggest factors that are showing the most important aspect of your polls, and that is 128 odd seats up from last time. So I don't subscribe to the view that Mr. Modi is arrogant, or yes, he is very determined, and he has his own agenda, which is to put Gujarat and India on the world map, and I have no doubt that he will do it in the manner he is doing right now.
Mr. Yagnik, looking at Narendra Modi's weaknesses, do you think these could hold him back, especially at a time when he needs to look beyond a state like Gujarat? To run Gujarat is one thing. Looking beyond Gujarat, could these factors really trip him over in his ability to manage a coalition?
There are two aspects. As far as Gujarat is concerned, let me tell you that the leader of Bharatiya Kisan Sangh, BKS, they told that we have problem about the Sheel and Shaili. That means the style and the integrity of Mr. Modi. So I am talking about how a Sangh Parivar leader now perceive Mr. Modi. As far as Gujarat and India is concerned, I should also tell my friends that you cannot compare Gujarati middle class with the Indian middle class. The sensibility of Gujarati middle class and Indian middle class, the perspective also are two different things.
That's an important factor. I want to bring in Renuka Chaudhary from the Congress party. She's joining us on this broadcast. And ma'am, the one question that everybody is asking from the Congress party is, where is the Congress in Gujarat? If you see, apart from the one trip from by Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi hasn't been there, Digvijay Singh hasn't been there, Kapil Sibal hasn't been there. It almost seems as if the Congress is reconciled to its fate in Gujarat. Why is the Congress not fighting this election as you did in Uttar Pradesh and elsewhere?
I don't think you're correct, Rahul. We may not be in your face as you see it, but at the grassroots level, quietly our workers are at the job. And I think you're going to see surprising dents in what is going to happen.
But is this a conscious strategy? You know, to try and avoid taking Narendra Modi head on. We saw what happened after the Maut Ka Saudagar comments of 2007, because in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar we saw Rahul Gandhi himself, Mrs. Gandhi, the Prime Minister, lead a high voltage campaign. Over here the sense seems to be that they don't want to target Narendra Modi because of fear of polarizing his voters.
Look, Rahul, part of it will be political strategy, but the fact of the matter is that we don't want to give him importance by speaking about him. We are appealing to the voters, who I feel are far more discerning, and we are there on the ground, hands-on, and they're seeing that happen. And I think that's why Mr. Modi was also worried.
Mr. Akbar, how do you view the Congress strategy of not targeting Narendra Modi? They've learned their lesson from 2007, but is this the right strategy according to you if they had to take on someone as powerful as Modi in Gujarat?
You know, there is a collateral damage to defeat, which Rahul Gandhi experienced in Uttar Pradesh. And as you can see, that collateral damage is very, very severe because it affects credibility. It affects your people's ability to treat you as a leader and so on. Rahul Gandhi has to recover really from UP and slowly re-establish himself in one way or the other. And
so you're suggesting that because of what happened in UP, he's worried it would happen in Gujarat.
Yes, the Congress party is very sensible to protect the person who is going to lead it in the next general
election. Let me ask
election.
that question to Renuka Chaudhary. Ma'am,
you're just a token of what they're doing for...
Ma'am, is it because of what happened in UP that you've now decided that it's not good to launch Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi in Gujarat because you're certain you might lose?
No, not at all. No. Oh, that is so ridiculous. You can't prejudge what we are doing. That we are a political party, and a one-size-fits-all approach never works. So we have different strategies for different areas, and then we are going ahead with it. Tell them not to worry about us. They should worry about themselves, because if you go to see it, it's not like Mr. Modi can take the credit for everything. It's because he was there that a lot more progress and development that should have happened didn't come, because Mr. Modi was viewed as a communal point and that he was viewed as anti-minorities. He's still got the Godhra stain on his face. And he needs the applause of UK and other countries to for his own credibility.
Okay, Ram Jethmalani wants to respond to what you're saying, Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani. Mr. Jethmalani wants to respond.
Credit should be given to them.
I also need to take a quick break, Mr. Jethmalani.
Just one point I want, the Congress keeps on to the same argument all the time, and Renuka has repeated it. But I just want to point out on the minority issue, one of the most important Congress leaders, Asifa Khan, who was handpicked by Ahmed Patel, has only recently crossed over and joined the BJP and Mr. Modi. And she says Modi is good for Gujarat, and that's why she has joined him. So I hope Renuka Chaudhary has taken note of that. Handpicked Congress spokesperson now joins the BJP.
Mahesh, you should fight an election. You should fight an election, because if you think one person who crosses over for obvious personal gain is going to give you the credibility, then please be happy. Please be happy, because that's all it takes. That's all it takes for you.
Unlike you, I have.
Now let's take a look at what the vote and the seat projections for 2012 are looking like. We'll begin with the question on vote share. In 2007, the BJP picked up 49% of the vote. Their vote share is projected to fall by 2%, coming down to about 47. Let's take a look at the Congress, which picked up 38% of the vote in 2007. Projection for 2012 is that this will rise to about 40%. Then there is Keshubai Patel's party, which didn't exist in the last elections, now projected to pick up 2% of the vote. That's not substantial at all. Let's take a look at what this means for seats. This is the way the 2007 figures look like. The BJP had 117, the Congress had 59, others had 6. Let's take a look at the ORG projections for 2012. The BJP tally projected to go up by 11 seats to 128. The Congress tally projected to come down by 11 seats to 48. Others at 5. Keshubai Patel's party at 1. That too only if Keshubai Patel were to fight the elections himself. I want to bring Professor Sanjay Kumar in on this apparent contradiction between the vote share and the seats, where the BJP's vote share is actually coming down, but their seats are going up by 11. How do you analyze that?
This is not surprising, Rahul, in first past the post system, the electoral system which we have in the country. Remember election in Karnataka, where BJP has less vote than the Congress, but they have more seats than the Congress in the present assembly. So what is happening in Gujarat right now, even if BJP is losing 2 points, Congress is gaining 2 points in terms of vote share, but it might happen, and which is what our poll shows, that BJP might gain 11 seats and Congress might lose 11 seats, because BJP is not wasting its vote. The votes are spread and they are picking up, which is called, what we call vote seat relationship. The vote seat relationship of BJP is more positive compared to what is happening with Congress. Congress is getting bigger victories in some constituency, so they are losing votes. So even if they are increasing 2% vote, they are not
BJP
converting.
is getting more bang for its vote, as Ashok said. But 128 seems to indicate the 3 terms of so-called anti-incumbency has made no difference to Narendra Modi. And that's quite a creditable achievement, given how high expectations are in our states nowadays.
One of the numbers which astounded me was 67% of the people saying the present process of industrialization and the present economic policies by implication are good for Gujarat and are creating jobs. If 67% of the people are generally optimistic or satisfied, that is actually huge. I'd say it's almost an aberration in India. It's huge, and that would be reflected in Mr. Modi facing no challenge.
So at some level, Mrs. Chaudhary, it would seem that there's not just rhetoric when it comes to development. A large number of people in Gujarat, in fact 2/3, are actually happy and satisfied with the work that Narendra Modi has done on the ground, which is completely counter to Congress claims.
First of all, we are not new to 3-time winning against anti-incumbency. As you know, Delhi, and as you know, Assam, our chief ministers have done these hat-tricks many times over, so that doesn't matter. Now, as for Modi's image, I will still say, Rahul, that you guys are slightly off the mark and you're going to see sudden dips where you think it's the most comfortable.
You're still hoping that there could be dips. I want to bring in GVL Narasimha Rao, because to be able to increase your tally after 3 terms, is not something which happens very often, and Narendra Modi on the ground seems to be very well accepted.
No, I think as Ms. Malik said, Ashok Malik said, there is a general complete approval of the governance of Gujarat, the stewardship of Gujarat by Mr. Modi over the past 5 years, and the kind of industrialization that has happened, the kind of growth that their people have seen, and also the kind of facilities for farmers. If any one section of the electorate had been aggrieved, as the Congress party tries to portray most of the time, the results would have been completely different. To be able to hold on to your vote base from a time when there was a wave and continuously win elections year after year. If you look at the elections that were held last year, year before last year, repeatedly BJP has been posting victories.
Okay.
And this victory will in a way, I think the Congress party does not want Mr. Modi to get a much higher pedestal for this. Therefore, they think they can take away the significance of this victory by not being in the field and fighting elections. It's excellent. I think if your rival doesn't want him in contest seriously because they don't want the winner to claim victory, I think it's all
because Mr. Yagnik has been arguing that under Narendra Modi there is a lot of corruption, that there is a lot of growth which is happening because of the big base in Gujarat, which has nothing to do really with Narendra Modi. Anybody else in his position would have also delivered the same figures. If your hypothesis was correct, Mr. Yagnik, then the level of dissatisfaction would have been much higher. Clearly, what you're saying is not borne out by the numbers.
I think we have 2 months. Let me tell you that 2 months to go, and many things will happen after the selection of candidate. But I should also tell that we cannot predict on the base of a very limited sample. and only certain constituencies, as you told earlier, and that constituencies are not even 1/3 of the total Gujarat.
Sure.
So if you look at the Human Development Index, one can realize that people are not satisfied.
Okay, let's now shift our attention to the big question of what happens after the assembly elections, because Narendra Modi is hoping to use these elections as a springboard from Ahmedabad to Delhi. Let's take a look at what people say about Narendra Modi's prime ministerial ambitions and whether they are prepared to back them. These are the results of the question we asked. Who do you want as the next Prime Minister? In Gujarat, Narendra Modi is the choice of 56% of the people. Rahul Gandhi comes second at 35%. Nitish Kumar way behind at 2%. Kanse is about 7%. Let's take the next question. Now, would you want to see Narendra Modi as the next Prime Minister? In Gujarat, 56% say yes, 33% say no. Kanse is about 11%. Amongst the BJP leaders, who do you want as your next Prime Minister? Here, if you look at Sushma Swaraj, Nitin Gadkari, they are miles behind Narendra Modi, who's at about 56%. There's also Arun Jaitley, who's really bottom of the pack, not looking good for any of the other leaders. The Gujarat strongman has immense popularity in Gujarat. I want to put this question first to Ashok Malik on whether the results of the opinion poll, if that's what reality turns out to be, would that serve as the springboard that Narendra Modi is hoping for?
Let's first reconcile ourselves to the fact that we are discussing only Gujarat.
Sure.
Now, in any state, the Chief Minister has a natural advantage over all other politicians because he is best known. Especially in the case of Mr. Modi, because he is a popular Chief Minister and not just an ordinary Chief Minister. So, obviously, Gujarat would like to see Mr. Modi go on to do better things. He's done a good job in Gujarat. They want him to do better things. The interesting number here is that 10% of people, 9% actually, who are saying they will vote for the Congress in the assembly election, would actually prefer Mr. Modi as Prime Minister. That would indicate, to me at least, that there are about 10% Congress voters who are dissatisfied with the performance of the union government and want an alternative.
Okay.
It could be Mr. Modi, it could be somebody else, but they want an alternative. If this is the mood across the country, and if we sort of, I'm only speculating here, I must admit, if this is the mood across the country and if Congress voters of this magnitude across the country are dissatisfied with the union government, then I'm afraid it's something very worrying for the Congress party.
Okay, you're saying there's reason for worry, but Mrs. Chaudhary, the one reason for some, the one reason that the Congress will have some takeaway from this poll is the fact that Muslims still remain very, very suspicious. Even in Gujarat, despite Mission Sadbhavna, Muslims very, very wary of Narendra Modi. So is the Congress really hoping that if he were to move from Ahmedabad to Delhi, there would be a reverse polarization, that Muslims would be a vote block that you would have as yours for the taking for 2014, especially if you were up against Narendra Modi?
Rahul, first of all, like we said, the perspective that you're talking about is really local to Gujarat. Number one. Number two, the Muslims have been against Narendra Modi, and this has been snapping at his heels. Every time he gets up and puffs his chest and thinks he's going to do the crossover, this is snapping at his heels because that is the reality. That is the reality. And the Satbhavna, I'm afraid, was self-explanatory when he refused to even accept the Muslim cap, the skull cap on his head, even as a gesture. Even as a gesture. So his mindset was loud and clear all over the national media. And I think it's very, very insulting to believe that the Muslims just before an election are going to suddenly listen to his platitudes and that they are going to reverse their opinion. At the end of the day, Rahul, Mr. Modi has failed to convince the minority voter. He has failed to deliver on that front. And I'm afraid that quantum leap that he thinks he's going to take, this is not going to help him. It's going to hold him back because that is the reality. India does not tolerate communal concepts.
Let Mr. Jethmalani
We are a
respond to that
democracy.
India is
We
not
are
Gujarat,
secular inherently and intrinsically.
that you can win in Gujarat, but given the sort of reverse polarization that might happen, Narendra Modi would never be able to make it to Delhi. That's what the Congress is hoping for, Mr. Jethmalani.
Well, to take Gujarat first, Rahul, I think that the increase in number that you're seeing, and I think that it will be more than 128, contrary to what Renuka optimistically hopes. I think part of the reason is the success of Mr. Modi's Sadbhavna rally. I think there is a shift. I think the Muslim community has got justice, of course, largely to the Supreme Court in the 2002 riot cases, and I think Muslims themselves now are tiring of the same Congress theme song about 2002. They have seen the results of development. They are sharing it. They are sharing it in Gujarat.
Right.
If you go to Alpha One of the most prominent malls in Ahmedabad, you will see that a lot of the shops there are owned by the Muslim community, and those are branded shops. So Muslims are now getting prosperity. They're seeing that instead of divisive agendas which the Congress keeps promoting, it is better to go for a leader who has a track record on development. It is only development that's going to unite all the countries, all the communities in this country, not the Congress. If anybody is snapping at the heels of Mr. Modi, it is not the Muslims of this country, it is the Congress party.
But Mr. Yagnik has been saying that it's the rich Muslims who might still be open to the idea of accepting Mr. Modi, but the poor Muslims feel to be completely disenfranchised. Mr. Yagnik, is that not correct?
Yes, because even in Sadbhavna, during that Sadbhavna period, you can see that only mercantile Muslim community people were there, you know. You also find fisher folk Muslim, you also find pastoralist Muslim, you also find artisan Muslim, you know, and they are not with either BJP or with Modi.
Bakul Dholakia, what's your sense of the situation on the ground? Do you think that it's only the richer Muslims who are, you know, buying into the Gujarat growth story because they are benefiting from it themselves? They are the ones who are likely to be weaned away by Modi. The poorer Muslim still doesn't feel connected to the Chief Minister.
Well, I don't think that there is any authentic information about the opinions of these people by income strata. Now, one thing is very clear, that the business-oriented component within the minority community has seen the fruits of development in the last 10 years and have realized how their purchasing power and living standards have increased in the last 10 years is for them to see. And as a result, at least the negativity in their mind is likely to have reduced significantly over the last 10 years. What is important is that end of the day, the trickle down effect to the poorer sections of the society within the minority might still be happening, and therefore the religious sentiments, the experiences of what happened 10 years ago would probably carry some weight in their minds as compared to the improvement in the living standards that might have happened over the last 10 years.
Okay.
But in the minority community, the negativity has reduced. Now, whether that reduced negativity brings in votes is something that remains to be seen. And if your opinion polls are to be an indicator, it means that a declining vote share with changed composition of the voting pattern could explain the increased number of seats in spite of an overall decline in the vote share.
Ashok Malik, the Congress's theory is that Narendra Modi is the best dose of anti-incumbency. To counter anti-incumbency, they can't hope for anything better than Narendra Modi, because the entire Muslim population will then unite to try and ensure that Narendra Modi doesn't become Prime Minister. To what extent do you think this theory might
work? Two things to say, one about Gujarat, one nationally. I find this illusion that Muslims are somehow sort of purchasable commodities and are selling, and mercantilist Muslims or rich Muslims are selling themselves to Narendra Modi, very disturbing and demeaning. If I am a rich Muslim or a mercantilist Muslim or whatever, and I feel Modi hates me and wants to sort of destroy my community, I will not vote for him even if he offers me money. And on the other hand, if Muslims are purchasable, then frankly Modi could have conceivably bought even poor Muslim votes. He has not succeeded in doing that. So let's not demean our fellow citizens, whether Hindu or Muslim. Coming to the national picture, Mr. Modi certainly has an image problem with Muslims, and I would say with sections of Hindus as well,
Okay.
which he has to address. Gujarat is not India, I recognize that. You won't get 67% approval for industrialization in India. You will get it in Gujarat. Any leader in this country, anyone who aspires to be a leader in this country has to be a coalition builder. Not just party coalitions, but also social coalitions. Mr. Modi has to work on that. He's an astute politician. How he does it is his business. But
And
it is
so far, GVL, from what we've
has to
seen,
work
he
on.
doesn't demonstrate the ability to work on these social coalitions. He's arrogant, he's intolerant according to the results of this poll, and he always wants to have his own way, which he can have in Gujarat, but not when he needs to work with the likes of the TDP, the JDU, the BJD. You know, this sort of arrogance and intolerance won't succeed. He has to be more affable.
I think there is a serious problem with the way the entire political class approaches elections and the way Mr. Modi approaches elections.
Okay.
This is a fundamental difference. And in the last 1.5 hours, we have discussed half an hour about the Muslim factor in Gujarat elections. This is exactly the way it happens on every television channel. I'm not pointing it out for you. So the fixation about Muslim vote, the kind of obsession with that factor is what is how this politics in the last 50-60 years has been run. Mr. Modi believes there cannot be anything for the development of one community vis-a-vis the other. So he wants to treat all communities on the equal platform, and he has demonstrated how Muslims can benefit from the fruits of development in Gujarat, which they haven't got from any other state, which has fed on a lot of this.
Let me bring in a number cruncher, Sanjay Kumar. Do you think
do
even
they
if
want development, or do they want simply appeasement?
in Gujarat we've seen the Muslims are still very suspicious? All India, the levels of suspicion could be higher, could be lower. We don't know, but there is suspicion. Can he pull this off without Muslim votes?
Certainly, Rahul, because we know that Muslims are only 9% of the total voters in Gujarat. And what is new about Modi not getting large proportions of Muslim vote? In any
I'm talking
state,
about the all India picture.
yeah, in any state, whether it is Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Delhi, wherever there is a bipolar contest between Congress and BJP, it's the Congress who gets large proportions of Muslim vote. The worry for the Congress about Muslim vote is in those states where Congress is in contest with the regional parties, whether it is UP, Bihar, West Bengal or any other state. Congress is losing large proportions of Muslim vote wherever they are in contest with the regional party. So regional parties have eaten up the Muslim vote of Congress. Wherever Congress and BJP are face to face, any state, 70-80% of Muslims vote for Congress.
So you're making the case that if all the Hindu votes were to come together, or a large part of the Hindu votes were to come together for Narendra Modi, the BJP can do even without the Muslim votes. Mrs. Chaudhary, how do you respond to Professor Sanjay Kumar's analysis that even if the Muslims decide not to vote for Narendra Modi, he is still the BJP's best shot?
Well, considering it's the BJP, good luck to them. And let's see how well they can pull that off amongst themselves. I'm least interested in who the BJP thinks what they have to think. But I personally believe that Mr. Modi has a long way to go. And all this kind of thing is not going to help him. All this kind of feedback that is being given on channels, it's good, let it carry on, because I think that's the way it should be.
Mr. Jethmalani, when people were being asked about Narendra Modi's biggest weakness, they said, you know, his biggest opponents and his biggest threat lie within the BJP. That it's the gang in Delhi which for their own interest will try and find some way of tripping Narendra Modi's prime ministerial aspirations. Do you think he'll be able to take everybody along if he's given the opportunity?
He doesn't.
Yes, I think he certainly can. I don't think that what you call his inflexibility and his arrogance are serious issues. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know how people perceive that. But yes, I mean, maybe it's a propaganda tactic of his opponents within and outside the party to paint him as such. But the fact of the matter is, your own polls have shown that the most popular national leader by far is Mr. Narendra Modi. Both within the BJP and within the Congress, everybody else is streets behind. You have to accept it whether you like it or not. that Mr. Narendra Modi will move to the center, whether he is Prime Minister, it's for his own destiny and this country's destiny.
Well, this is just an opinion poll. Things can still change between now and voting day. Very quickly, Professor Kumar, how much do you see the situation change between now and voting day?
Even in this poll, Rahul, we have estimated that there is a margin of 3%.
Correct.
We know that it's still almost 2 months before the first vote will be casted. There would be changes, but I don't see change in the election results. Election results are almost a foregone conclusion. We know that, at least from the polls, various polls suggest that it's
election
BJP
results you're saying are a foregone conclusion. The critical question, of course, is what happens thereafter. It's one of the most exciting political stories, no matter which way you look at it. To all my guests, Mrs. Renuka Chaudhary, Mahesh Jetmalani, Achyut Yagnik, Bakul Dholakia, Ashok Malik, GVL Narasimha Rao and Professor Sanjay Kumar for joining us on this special panel. Thank you very much.